Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, a proud part of the Section 328 family. Follow us on Twitter at CheatersInVRPin. Now, live from ringside, it's Mr. Workrate and JC. Well, what's up, everybody out there in podcast land? It's your boys, Cheaters Never Pin. There you go.
You did it. You said you were going to do it, and you did it.
I did it. It was good. Welcome back to another episode of the Cheaters Never Pin podcast. I'm your boy, JC. And next to me here at the commentary booth is your other boy, Tom.
I was considering doing the world's longest yeah boy, but I don't want to take that title from that kid on YouTube.
There's so many people listening to this, you know, the hundreds of thousands, obviously, that are listening to this.
10 millions!
Yes, they can smell what we're cooking. But they're also incredibly confused about what the hell we just did. And I don't remember how before we started recording, but we got on the topic before we hit record of like gaming YouTubers starting every video with, "Hey everybody, it's your boy JC, and I'm here and I'm dropping another video for you." It's like,
we've always threatened for the Patreon people of recording our pre-talks before we record.
yeah,
To give us some sight, you know, a peek behind the curtain
yeah.
as to all the random things that we talk about before we actually go online.
You could call it breaking kayfabe.
Whoa.
I just Russo'd that shit. I brought it in. I brought the outside the kayfabe into the kayfabe.
Bro.
Oh, well, we gotta
Breaking kayfabe on a pole.
bro.
Only for our Patreons.
Chicks everywhere.
For our El Patrons.
Yes, not for the dirty bitches.
No.
Nope. Well, welcome back to the show. We're glad to have you here, as always, wherever you found us. With your boys. I'm gonna be doing it all night now.
We're just broken.
Delightful. So we got some stuff to talk about tonight. We're gonna talk about this coming I guess Saturday and Sunday. We didn't even discuss talking about war games, but we should probably do that.
Well, I've already yelled about war games for the past couple of weeks, but
Tom,
we can just go over the card in general.
These people live and die on our predictions, Tom. This is how they're betting in Vegas. We're here to give you your ice cold locks.
We influence the well, that's not point spreads because that would be actual sports, but the betting lines, I guess.
There you go.
The odds.
Right? We're going to influence war games, and then we're also going to put the fix in on Survivor Series this Sunday. I guess it starts at 5, so strap in, kids.
Grab a cot.
There is not a chance this show actually stops at 11 either, so prepare yourself for 7 hours.
Roll out the futon.
Yeah, that's my plan. So we get that. We're going to talk about Survivor Series 20 years ago. Because that was the Screwjob, and that was a thing. That was big.
People are still talking about it today.
We are.
Whether or not it was a work, who knew about it, who didn't know about it.
Right? So we're going to give our thoughts on that, because I don't think we've ever touched on that on this podcast. So, it took us a year, almost. Tom, we've been doing this show for nearly a year.
It has seemed exactly that long.
Yep, that's about right. We were in planning phases around this time, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think just the thought about, we should do a wrestling podcast, because I always threatened when it was just the 328 podcast, we joked that if Mike for some reason couldn't make it, and it was me and Derek, that for whatever reason, me and Derek would turn the Cheaters Never Win podcast into a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
It would be wrestling and Simpsons references. That's all it'd be.
Yeah, you lost me on that second part.
Yeah, so obviously we took it to the drawing board and we sanded out a few edges.
Yeah.
We lost the Simpsons references, but that'll be the eventual podcast that myself and Oliver will do.
That's
so.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We have some of your questions in the pin mail segment.
Pin mail.
No, too early. We don't need the music yet.
No.
Yeah, just save it.
I was told it was a highlight of last week's show.
Yes,
so
we did get positive feedback on the theme music. And then we don't have a match exchange. We're going to take a hiatus on that for a little bit because we got a lot to talk about over the next couple weeks. And then life's going to get real crazy for at least me. So these podcasts after Survivor Series are probably going to get a hell of a lot shorter. So
while at the same time being longer because we're going to have a hell of a lot more to talk about.
Yeah. Next week will be a hefty bag. It'll be hefty, not wimpy. Bag of Survivor Series and War Games breakdown.
Just picture John Cena's pectorals bouncing back and forth.
Doesn't everybody do that all the time? Is that not your background?
No.
It should be.
Oh. Okay, then.
Yeah. That's our show tonight. Those are the things we're talking about. And I realized when Tom laughed that sounded like a sign-off.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah. Rate, review, subscribe. There's 2 buttons on cheatersneverpit.com, an Amazon button and a Patreon button. Click either one of those and throw your money at our faces.
Yeah, don't necessarily rate, after what you've just heard just now, but like in the past.
Right. But you'll hear eloquently thrown 2 ad reads about those 2 buttons later on, so it's just another tease.
Judge us on the whole of the work, not just specific things.
Yeah.
Unless they're good things, then judge us on those solely.
Right. So I guess we could start off with a little bit of breaking news that happened, I guess that would have been Wednesday afternoon. This afternoon, as we record. WWE has released someone else into the wild. And that is the man with 2 hands who stands a fighting chance, James Ellsworth.
Yeah.
I mean,
aww.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. But, it's not like they were really doing anything worthwhile with him, and he still got to go and live his dream there, and reading his Twitter and Facebook posts and everything about it, he doesn't seem like I think he's obviously bummed that he's out of there, but, like, he lived his dream, so he's super stoked about that, so.
Well, I think Cage Side Seats brought it up, was that his contract was announced in November of last year.
Right.
So this may not be a set release like, you're being fired or anything like that. It just seems more like kind of we signed you to a 1-year deal. The contract's up. We're not really renewing it because we have nothing for you, but we wish you the best.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's been on TV basically every week, so there's no ill will there. There would be no reason to. He's done nothing for the last 6 weeks but be led around by a leash anyway, so.
Yeah, and they wrote him off. I mean, the last segment, Carmella basically broke up with him by delivering after the final payoff for the Becky Lynch match. Then you had Carmella super kick him to kind of break that up, and then supposedly, I guess, on the European tour,
every night they'd use somebody else's finisher on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find those videos online. There was one night everybody hit him with a stunner. There was one night there were a series of Shield power bombs. So he got a good send off. If they do that kind of stuff, they like you. So
yeah, and I don't like you said. I don't think there's any ill will or anything like that. It's just that, I mean, you can only do so much, and WWE kind of jumped on what was, I guess, kind of a social swell of appeal for him being like just that first initial thing with where he came out to put over Strowman and then just kind of jumped on that opportunity of here's this guy that we can kind of work something with. And I was saying it earlier today, just I enjoyed the stuff that he did with Styles and Ambrose, and just he cuts. They wrote him pretty well for that. Just the kind of cockiness that he had, like going into it, like, oh well, I'll beat AJ now. Don't worry about it. Like,
I mean, he got a main event push. Like, technically he did. So I mean, he contended for the WWE Championship. Like, that's the dream.
There's a little part of you that went, my God, they're not going to put the belt on him, are they? And if they could do that, then something's being written well.
It would have been great if it would have happened like on a Monday night on a house show, and they could have shown it Tuesday night for TV, switched it back.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why they didn't do that. It would have been kind of fun, but I also understand why they don't. So. But
he would have made for a good Dusty finish.
Oh yeah. But definitely.
Second ref runs in, makes the 3 count.
Apparently Ellsworth just tweeted, "Wait, Big Cass and Carmella were dating this whole time and nobody told me." Okay. But yeah, bon voyage to him. He will be on Indies all over the place
I was going to say,
a little bit. He's in a good place.
He lived the dream for a year.
Yeah. And
now he's made. Because he'll be doing conventions and all those things for the rest of his life now. And
for sure. So I'm thrilled for him that he got to live his dream. Again, not like they were doing anything with him, so saying we'll miss seeing him every week is not the correct thing to say, because I won't even probably notice he's gone. But
no, and I,
okay.
for one, really did not like his pairing with Carmella, especially near the end with the whole abusive dog type thing.
Yeah,
I did not. That was Russo level shit. Bro.
Ellsworth on a pole, bro. So
that's I mean, not Judy Bagwell bad, but still.
Judy Bagwell on a forklift. Happened. Look it up.
Yes. That is not in the archives.
No, it's not, sadly. But I do have that's a good pick for a match exchange match one time. Did we give each other as homework and we tag team review that one? I think that's the way to go with that one. But all right, that's our breaking news for the day. So I guess we have to move on and we'll talk about our match exchange from last. Oh wait, if we're technically, because it was our match exchange last week, I got to do this. Match exchange. There we go.
God damn it! I wasn't wearing my safety goggles.
So we match exchanged each other the Survivor Series 1997 main event last week, because it is the 20th anniversary of that, and of course that is the Montreal Screwjob. So I don't even know where to start this discussion. I guess for me, it would be interesting to hear you describe it, like how you remember it at that time before we kind of get into the more like technical discussion about it. Like,
okay,
what you remember from when it happened, like that 24-hour period.
All right. Well, I mean, I can go back a little bit more, and just in general, it's like there was so much stuff going on between Shawn and Brett, where Brett had the turn. This was going back to WrestleMania 13, where Brett officially made when Brett and Austin did their double turn and had their great match. And yeah, just if you haven't, for whatever reason, seen the Bret Hart Steve Austin match from WrestleMania 13, pause the podcast, go to the network and watch that match.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite matches of all time. But Brett had the whole anti-American thing going, and that was fine. But there was so much blurred reality of what was real heat, what was kayfabe heat, because there were a lot of worked shoots going on between Shawn, who supposedly was just being a complete diva behind the scenes, and Bret Hart, who can be his own special kind of diva behind the scenes. And just the two of them just not getting along at all. And interviews would take place, and Shawn would go off script, and I mean, this was back in the time where Shawn, during the interview, made a reference to Bret Hart having some sunny days, in a veiled reference to Bret basically being rumored to have an affair with Sunny, which pissed him off to no end. I mean, there was legit heat, and they got into a fight backstage and that type of thing. So all this was still going on. I was a subscriber to the Observer back then, so I saw what was going on screen. I was getting all the little scuttlebutt behind the scenes. So going into this match and knowing what was going on with his contract situation, no one knew what the hell was going to happen, or at least I didn't. Because his contract was going up. He was leaving. We knew he was leaving. But I can remember trying to figure out where he was going to drop the belt. Because his contract, I guess, ended that Monday or something like that.
Right.
Like, he was still under contract, but there was like contract through that week or partway through the week. And I remember them talking about, well, supposedly, I guess, talking to Bret about, okay, well, Bret, you're going to go over at Survivor Series, and then he would either drop it at, like, Raw the next night, or I think maybe the SmackDown taping or something. Was even SmackDown around at that time? Maybe not. Okay. But somewhere along the line, there's just Bret didn't want to drop it at the Survivor Series in Montreal against Shawn. He was willing to do it like the next day against like someone like Vader or back to Taker or somebody like that. But he just didn't want to do it to Shawn because there's so much legit heat between them and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what the hell was going to happen. Had it been more straightforward and, you know, everybody had agreed to everything, you would have just assumed that Shawn's gonna win the title there. But I remember going into it going, they're not going to do it here, are they? Like, Shawn's not going to make it out of the arena because they fucking hated him. I mean, and again, just going back to like the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view before that, you can see how much heat the Canadian crowd had for the non-Hart Foundation wrestlers. So, and they especially hated Shawn because they knew that Bret hated Shawn. So, and Shawn egged it on. I mean, he wasn't exactly, it wasn't like Austin, who was just like, I don't give a shit, I'll give everybody the finger. Shawn was going out there. He was just embracing this Generation X thing. So he was just being an asshole. Him and Hunter were just being an asshole to everything. I remember him, I think, like picking his nose to the Canadian flag or something. It just, all this shit was going on. So it's like, no, what are they going to do? And just legitimately not knowing how they were going to pull this off. And I didn't think that they were going to have Bret drop the belt here. So I was curious to how the match was going to go down. And yeah, I wasn't predicting what actually happened.
Yeah. To kind of touch back on something you were talking about earlier about figuring out when they needed him to drop the belt. I was watching a clip from, I think it was a kayfabe commentary shoot with Cornette, and he said they were at a meeting and basically proposed to Bret, like, okay, well, you don't want to drop it at Survivor Series because it's in Canada. You don't want to drop it at home and in front of your people and your family. Okay. Well, how about in Detroit the night before? And he's like, well, no, you can't do that because you billed me as the champion coming into the show. What's the point then? And they're like, okay, well, how about the Friday night before? And I think that show was somewhere else in Canada. He's like, no, because it's in Canada. Like, that's where the whole I'm a Canadian hero thing originated.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting that he went back and forth through that.
And I mean, Brett supposedly was like, "Oh, you can trust me. You know, I've worked for you for so many years that I'm not going to go over and screw you."
Yeah.
You know, like, but the thing was, it was still fresh, I think, in Vince's mind that you had Medusa, 2 years earlier, take the WWF Women's Championship and dump it in a trash can.
Yeah.
And you knew damn well that with WCW was doing so well at that time that they would have loved to have Brett do that. And I think Vince too had the thought in his mind that, I mean, Vince basically, the reason why Brett was going to WCW in the first place was that Vince basically backed out of a contract that he had Brett sign. That was this 20-year deal, which would have ended this year. This 20-year, multi-million-dollar deal.
Yep. Well, Cornette was saying too, basically, Brett had said, I'm not going to take this belt and do anything with it. Just trust me. And Vince trusted Brett, so that wasn't the issue. But Vince had conversations with Bischoff about look, he's coming to you. We know that. That's fine. If you could not mention him until after Survivor Series, that would be great. And so, or mention it, to that point. So he knew he had to get the belt off of him fast, and because he didn't trust Bischoff to not do that. So they knew that they had to get the belt off of him before that Nitro and Raw the following night, because everything up to that point had been taped for both shows. And then that following Monday after the Survivor Series was the first night both shows were live again. So they knew they had to pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah, and you're right about the 20-year contract would have been up. That is crazy. But they had to get the financials straight in order to get they were already working on getting the company prepared to go public. That was the main impetus for trying to unload some of the cash they were spending on talent here.
Yeah, and there was a lot of back end on that deal too. It's because I learned some of this listening to the Bruce Pritchard podcast, that they've also covered Bret Hart 96 to 97 just recently, but they were talking about the fact that Bret didn't initially want to go because one of the things that he said is he had worked for two people in his life, his father and Vince McMahon.
Right.
So, I mean, even with the whole grass is greener type thing, you get comfortable where you've always been. So, supposedly Bischoff was in contact with him and trying to get him to come over. And they're like, what's it going to take? Give me a number. And he's like, what's Hogan making? It's like, I can't do that or whatever. Just give me a number. And he goes, okay, $3 million a year. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, at least that's a number. Let me see what I can do. And Hart's like, really? Okay. Yeah, sure. And they apparently came back with a number that was close to that. I think they said something like 2.85 or something like that. But a lot of that kind of backloaded into the Turner other stuff, like part of it being part of Turner Home Entertainment and that type of thing. So his wrestling contract wouldn't have necessarily been that much, so that the WCW could still be making money.
Right.
But they offload that money onto various other Turner type properties and that type of thing to spread that out. But it was a shitload of money.
Yep. I love that Vince takes credit for helping get him that money too. The Monday or I guess 2 Mondays after the Survivor Series is the infamous sit down 2-part interview with JR, which I watched today. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't get around to watching Brett Screwed Brett.
Yeah, so it's the Brett Screwed Brett interview. And, you know, they're talking very openly about the business side of this. And Vince is like, yeah, you know, we realized that, you know, the deal we had made with Brett wasn't really financially suitable for us. And Brett was very unhappy with the creative we had for him here. So I helped him arrange this contract with WCW. You know, I felt like I owed it to him. And I was like, no, you didn't. I mean, maybe you did. I don't know. I honestly don't know well enough on that. But
well, Pritchard says that too. Pritchard said that he felt bad, basically, that he was pulling this back, but that he would kind of try to work out something, not necessarily contact Bischoff himself, I guess, but kind of give him the opening to allow Brett to use the number to turn around and go to Turner and be like, hey, you know, basically build off of this or beat this, and then allowed him to do that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, he takes credit for it in that sense. But.
Yeah, and it's so weird, even given how just insane this story is, even within the context of a business that is as crazy as pro wrestling. Like, Vince is gonna go and show him such respect to be like, you know, sorry, I gotta screw you here, but I gotta worry about my company first. But I'm gonna help you find a job and help you get paid, and then I'm gonna turn around and screw you at home, and then you're gonna knock me unconscious, and then 15 years later I'm gonna let you, well, not even 15 years, but 12, 13 years later I'm gonna let you beat me at WrestleMania. Okay, thanks.
But just so you know, I'm gonna kill your brother 2 years later.
Oh yeah.
No hard feelings.
Yeah. That's a whole separate episode.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to be here for that episode.
Yeah. I have very vague. I was actually in the product at that point, so I have very vague memories of that as a child. But yeah, it's just the whole thing is so weird. So I guess we can get into the actual night. And what actually happened. So the first thing I take away, and I haven't watched this match, maybe since the network launch, because I remember it being one of the things being like, I never really saw that. I went back and watched it really early on. So it's been a few years since I watched this. The intensity that everybody enters the ring with, like, and I guess, hindsight is 20/20, but you gotta watch that and know something's up. Like, and we know that Shawn and Brett had this, very checkered personal relationship anyway. But watching it with the context of knowing that what is about to happen, like, you see Shawn and Hunter and Chyna come out, and everybody's walking with, like, this very intense sense of purpose. Not the, I'm going into a big match, but, like, there's a different energy there that's real, that's not part of the sports entertainment of the evening.
Right.
And then you get double the sense of that when Brett and Neidhart and Bulldog are walking out. And I watched that, I was like, oh, he brought bodyguards.
And I mean, that's what gives credence to the fact of Shawn knowing what was going to happen. Because Shawn still insists that he didn't know. Well,
we'll get to that in the end.
Yeah.
Because either he's the world's greatest actor, or he didn't know.
The man's been in movies.
You know what? He might be a better actor than Jason Jordan.
I don't know.
Or Charlotte, if the Ric Flair thing wasn't real. By the way, Baby Girl got the title back. Yeah. I'm happy. Anyway, moving back to Survivor Series. So the match starts, and it is a brawl. It still shocks me that in an era where, I mean, WWF was obviously not as hot as WCW at this point, but wrestling in general is so hot right at this period in time. Like, boy, we're fighting into these crowds a lot.
And they didn't really do that until around this time.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a thing. You didn't do that in in the Hogan era or whatever, in like 94 or 93 or something like that. You didn't do that. This was something, again, that kind of veered over from ECW and stuff like that, where they were constantly going into the crowds and fighting there and hardcore and that.
And my thing with this feud, too, especially since it's like, it's got that work shoot aspect to it, because Brett and Shawn have such a hatred for each other, or a dislike for each other at least. Like, the fans, especially in Canada, like, they want to murder Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Like, the guys in the front row that are constantly harassing Shawn Michaels and trying their damnedest to start Shawn is gay chants, which get over at least twice during this match that I can think of, and I was like, wow, it's clearly not this day and age.
Well, they had actually kind of, when they were cutting promos back and forth, that was one of the implications that Brett had thrown out there, because this was soon after, I guess, Shawn had done the Playgirl
right. Yeah.
Spread. And Brett said something along the lines of, shot it from Playgirl, but I don't know too many girls that read that.
Yeah. Things were very different back then. Way back in the 20 years ago.
I was going to say, like, just to go earlier in the card, because I tried to watch the whole thing. And the first match in the card is a 4-on-4, regular traditional Survivor Series match, where it's the Godwins and I guess they were called New Age Outlaws at the time, but
they
Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
Before the Road Dogg had his entrance necessarily, when he would just grab the mic and just start rambling on their way down, where they had like pretty much no theme music.
Yeah.
Against the Headbangers and the new Blackjacks, so Blackjack Wyndham and Blackjack Bradshaw.
Mm-hmm.
And they give Road Dogg the mic. The faces of, I guess I should reiterate that the Headbangers and the Blackjacks are faces here. The faces are in the ring already, and Road Dogg proceeds to grab the mic and go, "What do we have here? Looks like the steers and queers are already in the ring."
Oh my!
And I'm like, all right.
It was a different time.
It was a different time.
So the match proceeds to go everywhere. We get Vince and the entire referee locker room clearing out, along with Patterson and Briscoe. They're now trying to get the match back in the ring. This works so well, so when Vince comes back out, it doesn't freak anybody out that he's coming out to do the screw job later. I just thought that was such a fine piece of detail work by Vince McMahon to be like, "Oh goddamn, we'll have to come out earlier so people don't go, why is Vince here?"
Yeah, it was done so well. Yeah. I never even noticed really that, that they'd come out. You didn't necessarily notice that anything different was happening, except there was brawl and, all that.
I mean, and the thing is too, it also made sense for Vince to be out there. I think Cornette said this too in that clip I watched. Somebody did. I watched a lot of different clips of shoot interviews about this. I went down a rabbit hole today. But someone was talking about, we'd already kind of broken into the very beginnings of the Mr. McMahon character at this point. Like, he wasn't just the commentator. He was still viewed much more in that role. But, like, for heel Mr. McMahon to be out there, commanding his talent around was not out of the realm of possibility at this point. So it still worked in that aspect, too. So it was a believable part of the storyline, and it was also a great cover for what was to come later.
Yeah, well, you had, when Brett was cutting these promos, again, he was kind of throwing the work to shoot in there. And he was one of, if not, I think the first one to kind of acknowledge the fact that that Vince was more than commentator at ringside. That he would call Vince the boss. And he kind of pulled the curtain back a little bit and started that in. So, and a lot of times we kind of think of, okay, well, it was the Austin feud or even just this particular event that turned Vince McMahon to Mr. McMahon. Like, yes, that's what kind of flipped the switch over completely, but Brett was putting the seeds out there already.
Yeah. This was the catapult, but he'd been climbing in for a while.
And you had Austin too, that was kind of doing it as well. So it's the seeds were being put out there.
Yeah. This whole night gave the entire business a reason to change.
And it's why it's so important in that it literally turned the tide of the Monday Night Wars, basically.
Yeah. It made it competitive at this point, at least. So then the match eventually gets back in the ring. Shawn Michaels goes for the JR even says the Hart Dungeon, the Stu Hart front face lock gets him down on the canvas. We do some other shit. And then we have Brett diving off, or Shawn dives off the top to catch Brett. Earl Hebner gets in the way and goes down. So to Brett's not okay. And again, now so at this point everything is word versus word. There are no facts here. We're in speculation territory. Brett believes it's supposed to be a schmoz finish from here on out. Hebner's gonna stay down, and then he's gonna make Michaels tap, and then another referee's gonna come out, and people are gonna interfere, and blah blah blah. But anyway, it's supposed to be that kind of bullshit to get to the end. So he believes Hebner's gonna stay down. Well, Michaels gets him in the sharpshooter. Hebner pops up out of nowhere. The one time in his career he recovers in less than 5 seconds.
And it would have probably been quicker, too, had Shawn actually had any idea how to put on the freaking sharpshooter in the first place.
You could see him thinking through it a little bit. It was adorable. So then, and this is one of the points that I've read multiple descriptions of that I'm not sure how it happened. But all you see on TV is Hebner ring the bell. Match over.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels is champ. Now, I've read description that Jesus. I need to start watching WCW apparently. That said that Vince gave Hebner the signal to call for the bell. I've read that he went over to Mark Yeaton and told him to ring the bell. Do you know is there a definitive answer here to what exactly triggered the ringing of the bell?
I don't know. I know watching it live, you didn't know.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a camera angle or anything like that where you saw or heard anything or anything like that. It just was complete surprise where you're watching it And it did. It looked like a transition move. It did not look like you didn't expect anything to happen out of it, especially since the bump had been so recent.
Right.
That you figure, okay, there's a bump. We're going to have a couple of minutes of activity. And he goes to put the sharpshooter on, and then like seemingly the groggy Hebner just kind of like gets up and calls for the bell immediately. And
it made me laugh that Hebner does his usual, like, I gotta use the ropes to get up, but the moment he's fully at his feet, he has his full cognition back. Like, he is perfectly fine. Nothing happened. How do we not bring him back in this day and age with the number of DQs we have now to prevent that bullshit from happening?
Yeah. And then you have Sean drops down, like, seemingly exhausted or no idea what's going on. Looks like the transition is starting to take place where Brett's starting to reverse it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So as soon as Hebner calls for the bell, you see Hart grab Shawn Michaels' leg. Shawn falls over, rolls out of the ring. Vince and Briscoe and Patterson are yelling at him, get the belt. He goes over to the timekeeper, gets the belt. And this is where I think, I honestly, so with as much as I've watched today of this stuff, my stance is Shawn Michaels did not know what was going to happen. Because, like I said, and it's either because he's the greatest actor in the world, or he didn't know what was happening. And you should really watch Shawn Michaels' latest movie with Willie Nelson, because he's not a good actor. But he goes to get the belt, and he keeps wanting to stop and celebrate, and Briscoe is yelling at him the whole time, get out of here, get out of here. And like, to the point where I think Hunter may have been in on it, but Shawn was not, because Hunter had no reason to be there.
Right.
Like, Vince may have smartened Hunter up to be like, you need to get down there as soon as, like, you need to be in Gorilla, and as soon as that bell rings, come down and help escort Shawn out. But I honestly don't think Shawn Michaels knew. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I go back and forth on it on a regular basis. I mean, like you said, it's Shawn doing a damn good acting job because he almost looks pissed off himself.
Yeah, he does.
Where at first he has no idea what the hell's going on, and at the time where where I guess they're kind of directing him around, he seems like he's a little bit pissed off, like
because he knows what's just been done.
And I mean, business is business, and I don't know. I mean, why would he be pissed off? I don't know. Like, would he be? Is he pissed off unnecessarily? Is he acting in this place where he's going? Brett's gonna be pissed off, so I should be pissed off too.
Well, my thought is like he's legit pissed because he knows what Vince has just done, that this double cross has just been executed, and that he's about to have massive heat in the back with the industry, with every fan, like that it's not a good look. It's not a good place to be the guy that, was part of the Screwjob.
Right.
And
for Vince's in Vince's defense, I guess, I don't know. Vince always wanted to be on his shoulders. He didn't want Shawn to take any of the heat for it.
Right.
He wanted it to be, look, this is me. It's on me. If you're going to point a finger at anybody, it's me. So, yeah, I like your theory in that Hunter got wisened up a little bit along the way. I don't think anybody else necessarily knew. None of the boys knew.
I mean, I think this was very as neat. When JR says he and Lawler didn't know, I believe it because they get very in every other championship win call, talk. This one is very sporadic.
Yeah, it's awkward.
They know what just happened, but they didn't know beforehand, and they have no clue how to address it. And then they get the cue to go off the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sean gets out, Brett stands up, Vince is still ringside. Bret hawks a giant loogie into Vince's face. Then I think this is where he writes WCW in this guy.
Yeah.
The pay-per-view is off the air at this point. Then he proceeds to completely destroy ringside, breaking much television equipment and the table and whatnot. And then the story continues and I went back and watched this entire chunk of Wrestling with Shadows today too. You know, Brett and Sean meet back in the locker room. Brett point blank asks him, Sean, did you know? Sean goes, I swear to God, I didn't know. Sean gets out of the locker room. Vince comes in. The camera's got to leave. We go back in. They ask him, so what happened? He's like, oh, I think he ran into my fist. Hit him as hard as I could. And, of course, Vince legit had a concussion and some sight and hearing problems for a few weeks after this because Bret Hart knocked him the fuck out in the locker room, which not necessarily going to say I blame Bret in this situation, but kudos to Vince for walking into that situation knowing that might be what happens. There's a giant confrontation in the hallway between Bret's wife and Hunter. Mick Foley walks out for 24 hours in protest to it. I think, some of the other Hart Foundation, I think, didn't Anvil and Bulldog stay out for a while as well?
Yeah, Anvil and Bulldog left. Because Owen was the only one that was left.
Owen stayed. Owen was at TV the next night.
But I think the reason it worked the way it did basically was that Vince didn't give a shit about Bulldog and Neidhart at that point. If they went to WCW, fuck them.
Well, he'd had, especially with Bulldog, he'd had so many problems that, cool, dump some more salary.
So, yeah, he had no problem writing both those guys off. But Owen, he knew he had something with, and he wasn't going to let that go easy.
Yeah. Nope.
Unfortunately.
I say he wasn't going to let it down easy. I'm sorry.
Because...
Not funny.
Had he let Owen go, Owen would still be here today.
I mean, in theory.
But yes, he could have
800 other things could have happened. But the exact incident that led to the tragic death of Owen Hart would not have occurred. And that's okay. We're saving that. We're gonna have to bank an episode on that. And then that's gonna be that whole episode will be a point of contention between you and me. I can already tell. I'm sorry. No, I love you ahead of time, Tom.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, so that kind of changed the business completely. I mean, it shouldn't be shocking that a promoter screwed over one of the boys. Oh no. This is a business with a carny background.
And this is something that's happened for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
That's just something that they did, especially if you had a champion that had a title. I mean, dude, you had. I mentioned the Medusa thing before. Hell, you had Ric Flair do it in WWF.
Yeah.
When he took the big gold belt with him.
Mm-hmm.
And got sued as a result of it and had to go through that. But
this led to the pulling back of the curtain to a much higher extent than had ever been done before. Starting with that Vince Jr. sit-down interview. Beyond the sheets and the 900 numbers. Like, this is the first time we'd acknowledged a lot of these issues out loud on television, which is now kind of commonplace.
And I think that's something that WWF looked at, and they saw that they were getting something out of this.
Mm-hmm.
That they were getting their ass handed to them on a regular basis by WCW. Because WCW had the cool product, and WWF had the stale product.
Yep.
And they were doing all these different things, and they realized that Austin, they had something with Austin, so that's fine. They had Shawn, which they weren't sure they had Shawn, but Shawn was a freaking basket case at the time, so he's a hell of a worker. But
they now had the beginnings of this Mr. McMahon character.
Yeah.
They knew they had the pieces, and so when this happened, Mr. McMahon is obviously the biggest heel in the entire fucking business now.
But they built this in that 6 months or so with the Bret heel turn. They built it off these worked shoots that made the hardcore fans turn around and go, this is a hell of a lot more interesting than the NWO invading every week. Yeah. Because, I can't believe that Bret said that about Shawn. I can't believe Shawn said that about Bret. Oh, did you hear Bret started making references to Vince being the owner? And all these little inside things are being said, which never were said before.
No. And for all the exposure of the business that is, I mean, in 1997, people knew wrestling was fake. But this starts, even with the outward exposure of this stuff happening, it's telling you it's fake. Like, this added back in that element of, see, holy shit, like, this is real. Like,
because now it's approaching the audience like, okay, you're not idiots. Here, let's cater this to a quote unquote smarter fan.
Right.
And you, as the 22-year-old who maybe got made fun of for watching wrestling, because wrestling's that cartoonish WWF shit that you're used to. Now it's pure drama. It's, these guys are really talking about their personal lives, and I gotta tune in next week because this isn't the fireman attacks the clown. This guy is actively talking about this guy cheating on his wife with this manager who there isn't really an angle going on. This is stuff that's happening behind the scenes that isn't actually an act. This is real life shit.
Yeah.
And it got people watching.
It got them talking.
Yeah.
I mean, had the Montreal Screwjob not happened, this would be the industry as a whole would be in a very different place.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's hard to say exactly what would be different, but because, it still could have happened with someone else 4 years later, but it's such an important thing to kind of study as a wrestling fan.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that were influenced by that.
You know what else has so much stuff, Tom?
What's that, JC?
Amazon.com. I can't wait to
do have a lot of stuff.
Oh, thank you for unmuting just for that comment. I can't wait to sit down and do all my holiday shopping, and I'm going to sit down here at my computer. I'm going to pour up a nice glass of eggnog, bake some sugar cookies, and then I'm going to go to my browser. I'm going to open up Internet Explorer, and then I'm going to type in Amazon.com, and then I'm just going to give them all my money. And it's going to be great. I'm going to have all my shopping done.
That sounds great, but can I offer a suggestion?
Sure.
One, Put that eggnog away. That shit is nasty.
Okay, fuck you. You're wrong.
Okay. 2.
We're doing an all Owen Hart and eggnog episode coming soon. Just in time for the holidays.
Call Chris, because I'm not doing that episode. 2. Go to cheatersneverpin.com. Just for the hell of it. Just go to the website. Humor me. And on that website,
Hold on.
you'll
can't
find
hear me typing yet. I'm not typing.
No, I'm just. You can remember that.
No, I don't. Our name is too long as it is. Tom. Okay.
Pin.
Okay, I'm there.
It's
all right.
It's the name of the podcast.
All right, I see it. Okay.
Okay. So on that webpage, there are 2 buttons.
Yeah. Well,
Click them both if you want to, but there is an Amazon.com button right there.
Oh, I see it. It has the logo.
Yeah.
It's like it's smiling at me.
It is. Just for you.
Okay.
So you click on that, and what happens? The screen disappears and turns into Amazon.com.
Yeah, it does. What
like magic.
Where did our website go?
No, it's gone now.
Oh.
No, the link, it doesn't open up a new window. It just replaces our window, which, whatever.
Damn it.
Come back later.
Okay.
You got there once on your own. You can do it again.
I'll have to call
But
you
hey,
later.
but remember, you wanted to go to Amazon in the first place.
Right. Okay. You're right. Okay.
So now you're at Amazon.
Right.
Buy your products. Go load up that shopping cart.
Okay.
And when you make that purchase and you spend all that money,
Okay. Everything's in my cart. Let me go to my cart. All right.
you'll buy it. And
Cool.
there'll be absolutely no difference on your side.
Right.
It'll still come from the same place.
Yeah.
You'll still have your Amazon Prime that'll get it there in 2 days if you have Amazon Prime. If not, what are you waiting for? But you get all that stuff, and it'll get sent to you. It'll be the same exact price it normally would have been had you gone to Amazon.
Okay.
However, like a fraction of a penny or something like that of each dollar you spend goes and gets put off to the side.
Huh.
Out of Amazon's pocket. They take it out of their giant fucking pockets that they have full of hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills.
Just hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
Okay.
They make new currency for Amazon.
Oh wow. The Bezos.
But yes. But they'll take a couple of pennies out of their pocket and they'll send them to us.
What?
Yeah. It's great.
Are you sure? Because it doesn't look any different. How would I know that?
No.
Tom?
You don't. To be quite honest, you have no idea. You may even forget that you were using that link to get to Amazon.com. And that's fine. I don't need you to remember that.
What link? Where did I go first?
Exactly. You forget. But if you go to cheatersneverpin.com, you click on the Amazon button, it takes you to Amazon.com. That's it. You don't have to remember that you got there from cheatersneverpin.com.
Oh,
Just do your shopping the way you normally do. Spend the money that you normally would. But for whatever reason, Amazon in their infinite wisdom gives us a fraction of the money that you spend instead of keeping it for themselves.
Cool.
Yeah.
They want me to sign up for a credit card, Tom.
I'm not here to judge your credit rating.
All right.
Maybe they'll give us a portion of the credit.
Yeah. Ooh. Can we put our Mania tickets on there?
I think as long as we put airfare on there as well.
Sweet. No, we're road tripping. We're doing a YouTube diary.
That would be wonderful.
That would be so great.
If you would like to sponsor,
we can afford to do that if you shop at Amazon.com by clicking the button through cheatersneverpin.com.
Fuck it. Let's cut out the middleman here. If you would like to directly sponsor a road trip to WrestleMania, we will wear your merch.
Oh, gee.
We will put stickers on the side of the car.
There will be signs at Mania with your brand, provided you give us enough money to get us tickets close enough to be on TV.
We'll go to Access and do interviews and get people to hold your product.
Yeah. We'll go to the Progress show and I'll drink a lot. It doesn't have to do with your product, but I'm just saying. We're gonna have
unless your product is an alcoholic beverage, then hey.
Yeah. Oh my God, if we got a booze sponsor for a Mania trip, Tom,
we'd die.
Oh,
Do you want to see us die?
In New Orleans. Oh, man. And you can give us that money by clicking the Patreon button on our website.
Yeah. Be aware, future booze sponsors, I do not drink the brown water.
Also, anything made with rye.
Yeah, those things are generally brown.
Yeah.
But yeah, even beers with rye, that's not good either.
That's the key.
The bread is okay.
Yeah. So we've been going a long time. So do we want to Do we want to lightning round our Survivor Series picks?
Yeah, because I think I have 7% left on my phone. So.
Oh, okay, let's go. We gotta do War Games first, obviously, because I'm sure you've totally watched every episode of NXT.
Sure.
Sweet. So have I. Pete Dunne versus Johnny Gargano for the UK Championship.
Pete Dunne in a hell of a match.
Cassius Ohno versus Lars Sullivan.
They're pushing Lars.
Yep. Ohno's just there to job. That's all he's been there to do lately. Or ever, period. Alistair...
He's not sexy enough.
No, but he is.
Yeah.
Right. Alistair Black versus the Velveteen Dream.
Black takes this one.
Yep. Drew McIntyre versus Andrade Almas for the NXT Championship.
McIntyre holds on to it, I think.
That's what I think, too. You know it's a good card when your championship match is third from the top, by the way.
Yeah.
A fatal four-way for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. Ember Moon versus Kairi Sane versus Nikki Cross versus Peyton Royce.
It's got to be Kairi Sane, right?
You are wrong. It is Peyton Royce.
Okay.
Ember or Kairi need the chase.
Good point.
Yeah. So it's Peyton Royce.
I love Nikki Cross, though.
Yeah, but she ain't gonna win.
No.
She's gonna do crazy shit in the match.
Yeah.
Then the War Games match. Yes. The Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong versus Sanity versus the Undisputed Era. This is a tough one.
It's the Undisputed Era.
Yep.
They need to be the top group, I think.
Mm-hmm. We need to build Adam Cole up for a title run, and you need to build Red Dragon up for a tag team title run.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll be good.
That's quick.
There we go. All right, Survivor Series on the pre-show, starting at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but it'll be dark outside, so it doesn't really matter. Enzo Amore takes on Kalisto for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Enzo retains.
Probably. Wow. I was like reading the words in my head and could not get the words to my mouth. Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss takes on SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair.
I think it's Charlotte just rolling off of the publicity.
Probably. The Shield take on The New Day.
Shield.
Yep. Universal Champion Brock Lesnar takes on WWE Champion AJ Styles.
I'd love to see AJ win. Fuck it, I'll say he's gonna win.
Brock's gonna win.
I know he is.
Or it's a schmoz finish of some kind. Definitely.
I see a schmoz happening, but I don't know. I want AJ to do it.
Raw Tag Team Champions The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus take on SmackDown Tag Team Champions The Usos.
I could see the Usos taking this.
Yep, absolutely. Team Raw.
It's going to be a fun match, though.
I almost just said Team Raw takes on Team SmackDown and left all the names off. Great. That would have been a great description. Alicia Fox, Nia Jax, Asuka, Sasha Banks, and Bayley take on Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Tamina, and to be announced. That's Paige, by the way.
Is it?
It's got to be.
Or is it Nikki Bella?
Oh, God, I hope so. You can look, but you can't touch.
Butt shift. Sorry, those aren't the next words?
No. The next words are, you keep dreaming on the stars above. Then it's butt shift.
Oh, sorry.
Who's winning, Tom?
Raw is, because Asuka's not going to put over anybody.
Amen. Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and Triple H take on Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, and John Cena.
It's got to be Raw, right?
That's my thought, right?
It's always Raw.
No, SmackDown won last year, my friend. Which is why I think Raw wins this year. And then in the main event of the evening, Intercontinental Champion The Miz takes on U.S. Champion Baron Corbin. Why is that listed? Why is that listed above the Survivor Series match on Wikipedia?
Well, technically, that's the second match, because you had the dark match, the pre-show match, and then the Intercontinental match. So officially, the main event, as I see it, is the women's. Charlotte. Yeah.
Oh.
But anyway.
Not you. Stop, Alexa. Stop. Go on. Sorry. She was just.
You just booked plane tickets for Charlotte.
Never mind. Just make a pick.
Miz.
Baron Corbin.
Okay.
All right. Those are our predictions. Speed round of pin mail. We have to go through all these things because we said we were going to do them.
Not necessarily speed round, but I want our questions should be given the respect that they deserve.
Yes, especially when we go into our segment we call Pin Mail.
Pin mail.
Pin Mail. Pin Mail. From OG El Patron, tweets from Seth. Is Braun strictly a spot monkey after 11 p.m.? Yes. Especially if you feed him that late.
He will break your ring. He will break your...
He'll break your cage. Anything. He'll break your ring. He'll put a hole in the ring. He'll get shoved into a garbage truck. That was before 11, though.
And then he'll be extremely nice after the fact. Backstage.
Right. Just be full of big, giant hickory hugs.
Yeah.
From our host from another mother. Okay, I started to try to rhyme host with something and then completely failed. The host with the co-host with the co-most over at Cheaters Never Win. There we go. Derek Ressler writes, is Jinder totally done now? What's he doing this Sunday? Not totally done because he is main eventing the India Super Show with Triple H. But he's not going to be doing anything this Sunday, probably. He might show up in the 5-on-5, or that could be what leads to the schmoz in the AJ Lesnar match. But, I mean, he's not going to be actively participating in the show.
We need to stress this. The reason we had him as champion for 6 months, the reason we built him up, one match in India.
Yep.
Not a tour, one match.
Well, it was supposed to be 2 shows, and then they now combined them into one this week.
It was supposed to be a tour.
Well, it was 2 shows. 2 shows was the tour.
One match.
Because they're bought houses, so it doesn't really matter.
One.
It would not surprise me if he wins the title back in 2 weeks on SmackDown. I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
And then from our buddy Noah Zark at Inlock716, is it pretty obvious now that Jason Jordan getting kicked off Team Raw that this is going to be the beginning of his heel turn come Sunday? I would have said yes until Triple H pedigreed him. But now I don't know, which I realize is an incredibly lame answer.
I think it works because with Triple H pedigreeing him and Angle just basically letting it happen, it'll stew.
Okay, that's a good point.
And I think it can be done well. I think I enjoyed watching Jason Jordan try to act.
It was so bad.
There was tension there.
It was so soap opera, Tom.
And professional wrestling isn't?
No. It's goddamn real life drama. We already established that in the first 50 minutes of the show tonight.
It could have been a 17-minute Enzo Amore interview.
How you doing? How are you doing? Drew Gulak, superstar of the week.
Yes.
So that's all our pin mail.
Thank you once again for sending that in.
Send it whenever you like throughout the week if you think of anything, and we'll check #pinmail on Twitter.
Yeah, totally.
Or you can always send your questions directly to any of us. So, Tom, tell the good people where they can find you on the internet.
Go to the Twitter machine, at Mr. Workrate, at MR Workrate. You can go to my Yahoo Messenger if you want to.
Your Yahoo Answers account?
Is Yahoo Messenger still a thing? I know
I don't know.
AOL IMer's dying.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Rip little yellow running guy.
I am Warehouse 4119 there if you actually.
On AIM?
On Yahoo Messenger.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I gotta remember that's now public record. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You can find me on the Twitter at JCBobbitt, JCBOBBITT. You can find me on everything else just by searching that, because that's my name too, and that's a shoot, brother. You can also find the show on Twitter at Cheaters Never Pin, Cheaters in VR Pin. On Facebook, just search Cheaters Never Pin and we'll come up. Patreon.com. You click that link through cheatersneverpin.com. Throw your money at our faces. Do your Christmas shopping with the Amazon link at cheatersneverpin.com. Did I forget anything, Tom?
I think you got it all covered.
Yeah. I did good. Rate, review,
Good job.
subscribe. Tell 2 friends.
Good job.
Got it all out. Well, this has been a fun show tonight.
It was.
That's the first time we delved deep into history, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So we will do more of that kind of stuff. If you guys like it, let us know on Twitter, and that way when we have quiet content weeks, we can kind of delve it. Because you can listen to Pritchard or Cornette and get the here's what happened, A, B, C, D at any point in time, but then we can give you opinions on it.
Yeah, because, we live it, man.
Yeah, man. We're the fans, man. I haven't done a Bray Wyatt impersonation in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's not on this show either. Oh, yeah, months. That happened.
Yeah.
Yep. So next week, the show will be up on Thanksgiving Day for your listening pleasure while you're cooking. So, yeah. We'll talk about Survivor Series then and wrap it up for you. Get you ready for the holidays. So,
Sounds good.
Yeah. It's another edition of Cheaters Never Pin. Down for the 3 count. I don't know where this outro is going. So my name's JC.
I'm Tom.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.